welcome to the Holy Halls in the Futura Germany warehouse. Today we have a very special guest. We are talking with somebody who's based in Basel, Switzerland, but who is now situated in Sri Lanka. His name is Raja Mahendran. I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he has over 30 years of experience in the pest management industry. He had leading roles at Bayer and at Zistex. He wrote a paper about the 7 trends of pest control in the next couple of years. He's a trainer, consultant, and a speaker. And today we're talking pest management. Raja, welcome. Good to see you again.
Hi Daniel, excellent to see you once again.
Thank you.
So many years, and it's great that we are in contact.
Yeah, I was just talking to Raja that 6 years ago, when I started my career at Futura, at the very first day at Pestex in London, we met, which was basically the start of my work in pest control. So it's a good memory.
Yes, excellent.
Raja, can you, I did a little bit of an intro about yourself. Maybe you can tell the people, how did you become a pest control consultant, the guy that you are today, known internationally for your professional consultancy?
Okay, so I'll begin with how I got involved in pest control in the first place.
Yeah.
So when I was finishing my Master of Science degree in agricultural entomology, that was here in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
When nearing completion, I was looking at different career paths. And the regular career path for most people doing a field like agriculture entomology was to join the government to be a research officer or extension officer.
Yeah.
So, but I was looking for something more exciting, but I really did not know what it would be until I saw a very large newspaper advertisement from a pest control company with all kinds of pictures and situations where they actually do pest control, like on airlines, on ships, in hotels, restaurants, deep down in the mines,
Was it a local pest control company from Sri Lanka?
From Sri Lanka, yes. The
Awesome.
company's name is PCI, Pioneering Consolidated Industries. That was the very first company I made contact with. I wrote to them and I said, I find this exciting. I'm doing entomology. This seems to be a very exciting part of entomology. So they replied and said, come and have a chat to us. So I went and had a talk to them, and they said, when you finish your master's, which was in a couple of months,
Wow,
you can
nice.
join us.
That's so funny because, as you know,
That's how I got into pest control.
there are always
first time.
Yeah, there are always so funny stories about people and how they went into pest control. If you don't have friends or family working in it,
Yes.
you went into it like on a newspaper ad. That's very unusual. Normally, people have like family or relatives that do that. So super interesting to learn that. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And how did you become the international consultant? I know you worked at Bayer, you worked at Zistex,
Yes.
you were responsible for Asia, for Australia. You did a lot of traveling worldwide. How did you become? Now you are a self-employed consultant for
Yes.
pest control, right? So what do you do and who are your clients?
After this company, I worked for yet another company in Sri Lanka called Lawson Pest Control.
Yeah.
And after that, I migrated to Australia in 1989, exactly 30 years ago.
Wow. All right.
Migrated to Sydney in Australia, and there I got a job with Bayer as a product manager for pest control products, for the provision of pest control products. And I also got myself licensed there as a pest control operator.
Nice.
Because I knew if you're going to go to pest control operators, train them and try to educate them and help them with product information,
Nice.
one must also be just like them and think just like them. So I was
Yes.
with pest control operators in the trenches for a while, learning how it's all done, and did the course, got myself licensed. And I was with Bayer Australia for a while, and then came the merger with Aventis in France. So I had meanwhile become marketing manager and later become the business unit
All
manager
right,
for
nice.
managing Australia. And they assigned me to France with the Aventis merger to be at the head office in Lyon. So that's how I ended up in Europe. Was with Bayer for 3 years, very exciting time in Lyon, and then later joined Novartis. With Novartis too, I was in the pest area, mainly with their fly control products and their rodenticide range. And then due to various changes, I became redundant. So,
And now your
I
consulting
went and I
business, your consulting business is based in Basel, Switzerland, right?
Basel, Switzerland. So I was with Novartis. So when I became redundant with Novartis, I set up my own consultancy business,
Wow.
an international pest control consultancy business.
Awesome.
And the whole idea was to help manufacturers to find distributors, distributors to find manufacturers, and also to help train pest control operators so that they get better with pest control and help change the mindset from a very chemical dominated industry to a more green, environmentally friendly.
This is what I find so, I truly respect that, because you wrote a paper on LinkedIn, the 7 tips of how, the 7 trends of pest control. And the funny thing is that as I interpreted, your past was biocides at Bayer, biocides at, Novartis, and Insistex and consultancy. And you wrote a paper, and the first 2 points were A, more green, second, more digital. So from you, as somebody that knows everything, somebody that knows everything about biocides, let me know what brought you to the first 2 points.
Yeah, because the more I went into the pest control industry, the more I worked with pest control operators, and more I could see in the field, I could see that very often people resort to chemicals first, whereas the first option should be to actually improve the sanitation of the place and to modify the pest habitat, to block the pests out of the building. And only then should chemicals or other non-chemical methods be employed. There was a study by Nebraska University where they said by just improving the sanitation, 50% of the pest problem could be reduced. By changing their habitat, by modifying their habitats, another 30%. So control would be only 20%. But whereas most people go with control first.
That's super. Nebraska, you said you have to send me that later on. That's awesome.
I will.
Yeah, I mean, proofing, sealing, as Dr. Bobby Corrigan said as well. Step 1, always step 1. That's so basic pest control. Close the mouse hole, do hygiene work. I 100% agree with you. The second point you had on your list was digital, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes. And that's where you come in a big way in today's modern pest control. You're leading all your digital options.
We're trying, yeah.
Other options you have, yeah.
So what led you to put it on the second point? Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on how you think digital might change the way we work.
Yeah, because with most pest control inspections and monitoring, it is done visually, which is good. I mean, if people really get down on their hands and feet and visually inspect and also monitor later, that's a good way to do it. But with electronics and with digital utilities or tools, they'll be able to do a better job, and also not just rely merely on visual, but rely on equipment to trigger whether there have been a pest that entered the bait station, or whether the pest has actually eaten whether the rodent has actually eaten the bait, And if they're in a far off location, they don't have to unnecessarily visit the place. They can visit the place only after being alerted about the pest.
What would you recommend?
It makes a great impression more than anything else with the client. Yeah.
Absolutely. You gain more information and you can do more with it. I 100% agree. Raja, as you are a consultant, maybe you want to, if I am a pest control business owner or a head of technical, and I'm doing a lot of biocides, like visits and replacing biocides, and what would be your advice for me as a company, as a service company, because I'm sure that people will contact you and ask this, what would be the first step if digital and green are at all interesting to me? How would you start with your consultancy? I know it's a long process, but what would be your first steps?
I mean, the first step, of course, is to try to get confidence, in a smaller way.
Super.
Not to go to the most important client or the biggest client, but to try it out with a smaller client, with whom you have some confidence and with whom you can also relate and explain. Look, I'm going to try some green options. Can I try it here first? And gain confidence first that it actually works, and then go and use it in other places and get more confidence in using them. And of course, it would mean changing the mental attitude, from only chemicals to looking at other options. Yeah.
Love it. So what would be your example of, do you have like a story that you always tell with a solution or a product or a method that promises that people will be happily surprised that green or anything does work, what will be your recommendation? Would you say try sealing or proofing and an infested site, or what's the first step? So something to grab upon for the people that are watching this.
I mean, a very easy example that comes to my mind is right here in Sri Lanka, because we have a huge problem with mosquitoes.
All right.
And people don't actually screen their windows or doors, because they think the breeze will not come in. There are all this mythology, So in some situations where I've suggested, if you're having a continuous mosquito problem, why don't you just screen,
Okay.
And that has just kept that has just dramatically reduced the mosquito problem inside the building very fast. But there's a lot of resistance to such simple mechanical means of keeping pests out as well. And there are some hotels where there's piping coming into the building, and there are holes around the pipes, and rats come, just next to the pipe. And it's a question of simply sealing them to keep them out. And instead, other people keep on. I'm not referring to Sri Lanka. I'm referring to all countries where people don't attend to it, and this problem continues. And the pest controller in his report may always say, seal that opening, but it never happens. The hotel doesn't do it, no one does it, and the problem continues. Whereas now there are so many simple things that can be used to seal the hole, and the pest controller himself can seal the hole without waiting for the hotel.
And the best thing is it's quite low cost, and it's not repetitive. You don't need to close that hole every week or every month.
Exactly, yeah.
But you're doing it forever.
The permanent solution.
Yeah. In contrast, of course, and I think this is also, people are afraid, this is my opinion here, I want your opinion on it as well. People are afraid that their money-driven business is maybe generating less money when they close the holes, when they do hygiene, when they do proofing. So what can we do together to help people understand that this fear is, or it can be changed, that it means you can generate income from, let's say, renting a digital product or performing a green service more regularly or do inspections or consulting. So what would your recommendation be if people fear that?
Yeah, because often the pest control operator thinks that his client wants to see dead insects, dead rats, killing, destruction. That's what he's thinking. But actually, most of the clients, what they want is they don't want to see pests, and they're willing to pay if somebody could maintain the place pest-free, provided it's being monitored and there are reports to show that it's being done, But pest controllers do fear that. They fear that if there are no pests, then they may lose their business. And sometimes it's true, it does happen. Like during bad economic times, when a hotel is asked to do cuts, they say, we don't have pests, so let's get rid of pest control. So this can happen as well. This is why the convincing and the commitment has to be done together with the hotel. And that's where some of your tools will come in, where they can also see visible results. There's continuous monitoring. It's not somebody coming and just looking around and saying there's no pests, but actually there are proper reports, there are visuals, there's your camera, there's your e-meter and tools like that to show that the place is being kept pest-free because of the monitoring, and that people pay for the monitoring service.
And the good thing is, of course, we do that because we're idealistic. We've done that for over 10 years, but there's so many people doing the same thing now, which I'm super happy to, because it's the good thing or the right thing is always going to win in my eyes. And if people realize that, for instance, a digital trap, which we are of one opinion, the prices will plummet in the next couple of years because demand is going to rise. So it's not going to be costing a lot of money anymore. And people can easily afford it and rent it to their client for 1, 2, 3 euros a month. And that's it. And I think that in future, pest control service business, let's say in 10 years, I think that the modern businesses have changed their business from a service business to renting digital devices and to reducing, of course, technicians that drive around and control bait boxes or pheromone boxes or insect light boxes, and replacing that with digital cameras or sensors. But of course, having highly trained professional pest experts that visit the clients, but they don't open and close boxes because they're highly trained professionals. The boxes are just tools.
Better utilized. Yeah.
Exactly. So what I think is they are more getting towards being a consultant of quality managers, hotel managers, and clients, etc. Right? What do you think?
Yeah, correct. Because in the past, the pest controller was a chemical applicator. Today, is an IPM, integrated pest manager. Tomorrow, he has to be a risk manager, pest risk manager.
Yeah.
Not a pest controller, not a pest manager, but a pest risk, managing the risks. And the hotels and others will pay him or her for that service, for managing the risk from pests.
Yes, I think so too. It's maybe getting, is there a change like from delivering a service to delivering a result?
Exactly.
And the result is being pest-free.
I mean, the changes are happening. It hasn't still become very visible, but that's the way the clients would like to go. The hotels would like to go. Food processing companies, hospitals, they would like to go in that direction where there is a risk management rather than just killing and destroying pests. That is not what they're looking for.
Super.
They want their premises to be pest-free and to be monitored.
Yeah. Great. Raja, thank you so much. I think we wrapped up a little bit of a couple bullet points, like we looked at the past, we looked at the future. How can people contact you? Because I want your email address in this video, maybe, so people can ask you for consultancy work or as a speaker.
Okay.
So
my web address is pestconsultant.com. Pest Consultant is one word, PEST consultant.com.
We will put it in the video.
My email is raja@pestconsultant.com.
Awesome. That's probably the best domain you could have saved for that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Raja, thank you so much for the discussion.
Thank you, Daniel. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for this opportunity, and I wish you all the very best. And let's meet soon.